This is the first video I'll be sharing with you on ghost hunting. I am just back from a paranormal investigation week in London and I have found a crazy amount of activity. Now, if the idea of ghosts or spirits freaks you out, don't turn off, right? I'm not going to shock you for the sake of it. Rather, I want you to see how clever and fun the spirit world is and how they love to chat with us and prove that life goes on. You are going to hear in this video, you are going to hear the real voice of a child in spirit who didn't want to play hide and seek. You are also going to hear how the spirit world teleported something I owned from one place to another. Now, all of the footage in this video comes from this paranormal investigation course that I did last week at the Findlay College of Psychic Development and Mediumship Development in London. Now, that's a bit of a mouthful, so I'll put all of the links below if you want to find out more about that course. Think of the college as a place like Hogwarts for adults. So what better place to search for spirits? Now, are you ready to hear real voices from the other side? So in this part of the investigation, we went searching in the attic of the college for any friendly spirits. Now, I began to sense children playing, children who had played hide and seek in the attic when they were alive. So I held up my voice box to a cupboard and asked them if they wanted to play hide and seek, and this is what happened.
Are you playing games with me?
Yes.
You hide in the cover. That scare you?
You go on a ghost hunt and you expect to be the one that's freaked out, but I freaked out the poor little spirit. So I felt slightly guilty about that. Let's hear them again.
You hide in the cover.
So this is a photo of the family that used to live at the college when it was still a private home, Stansted Hall. Now, that's Arthur Findlay, and he wrote lots of books about the spirit world. And he used to have seances in the house with famous people from his time, like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who wrote the Sherlock Holmes stories. Perhaps it was one of the children in the photo that we just heard. But more likely, I feel it was a child from earlier times. You see, the original hall was built first back in about 1215. Now, that's a long time ago. But it was burnt down. In fact, they rebuilt it and it burnt down again. So God knows, who knows what type of tragedies were involved in that. So this is what the college looks like today. When we left the attic, we went down to the next floor below, which were a load of bedrooms. Now, in one of the bedrooms, I think you can hear the little child again. And in this clip, you will hear my colleague, Ellie, asking a question. Now, she's a wonderful healer and has this really nurturing voice. And I think he wanted to tell her something.
What's your name, please?
Pushed him. But you can see the intelligence behind this communication, can't you? This child knew my name, was able to leave a message. This is not the voice of a child from another planet or solar system, which would be, let's face it, awesome in itself, but from another dimension. But there were other voices in the attic too, and I asked if any spirit wanted to go and investigate the cupboard again. I went back to that cupboard. Hey, it seemed to be pretty active. And I received a direct response to my question. So just listen to this.
Don't want to go? What kind of games did you play up here?
Next, I want to talk to you about apports. According to Wiki, an apport is the paranormal transference of an article from one place to another. You see, an apport appeared to me during this paranormal investigation. So here's how this apport appeared. You are going to hear a series of totally weird, strange coincidences. So the day began with an upbeat greeting from the spirit world. I was just lying on my bed in the morning getting ready when a voice from the spirit world came on and said,
Good morning.
It seemed like right from the get-go, right at 8 a.m. that morning, they were alert and ready to go. This day was going to be special. So the plan was to visit a local church later in the evening, and we were all told that it was a fairly old church. That's all we knew about it. But before we went, we were asked by the course tutor, a wonderful expert called Karina Collins, to use our remote vision to sense the layout of the church. So I had to transport my mind to this church that I'd never stepped inside before and draw what I saw. And this is what I drew. A very low arch which created the sensation of a cave area and an effigy of a knight lying down. Now I dated it around 13th century. Do you know what? It actually reminds me of the Four of Swords in tarot. That was the card that actually popped into my head. Now, many of you know, as you watch me regularly, that I am a tarot reader. So the spirit world do tend to give me messages in the visuals of the tarot card because that's my language with them. That was the spot I had drawn, and if it existed in the church when we got there, that was the place I was meant to go. That was the feeling I was getting. But did it exist, or was it all in my mind? After doing that, we gathered to leave for the church. But then I just remembered I had forgotten an important piece of equipment, right? So I had forgotten my little voice box. This is a ghost box. This is where they can communicate through with you. So I rushed back to my bedroom. So unknown to me, my phone had switched itself on and had started recording as I raced into the bedroom. But can you hear the gentle voice at the end urging me to hurry? So half an hour later, we arrived at this really beautiful, beautiful church. And what did I discover? The knight. Here he was. Now, it was revealed later to the group by Suzanne, who was the historian in our group, that this cross-legged knight was a baron, and he was likely to be Roger of Lancaster, who died around 1290, or it was his son John. So the chapel was built for them around 1300 for that family, which corresponded to the date in my drawing. But this was only the beginning. 24 hours before I arrived at this church, I had lost the back of an earring. Now, that sort of thing wouldn't normally bother me. You know, you have lots of different backs and things, but it kept niggling me. I kept thinking, where is that back? And you know how that can happen. A thought keeps going around in your head. By the way, when that happens, pay attention. So it kept going around in my head to such a degree, I made my bed at lunchtime prior to going to the church, made the bed, videoed, recorded it, and said to the spirit world, feel an urge to take a video of the bed just in case something is left here when I return. I returned back after lunch. There was nothing there, so I started to think, okay, maybe that was just in my head. But when we arrived at the church, I kneeled down to video the knight, and what did I find at his foot? The back of my earring. Yep, the back of my earring. As I was videoing the knight, this kind of tiny little object on the floor, which normally I wouldn't notice at all, kept out of the corner of my eye, shining, popping up, like trying to catch my attention. And I swerved the camera around, and you can see me going, what's that? What's that? And there you can see the earring. Now you have to remember, I've never stepped inside this church before, and yet earlier in the day during a remote viewing exercise, I had drawn the picture of the knight and felt it was the spot I had to go to when I got to the church. So I brought the earring backing with me to the college and ran to my room and checked with the other earring back to see if it matched. And as you can see, it's a perfect match. Now, the one that I found by the knight's foot is slightly shinier, but hey, I guess it did go through the light. For you listening at home right now, I hope you can see how clever, how kind and how loving the spirit world are in their communications with us. They want to show us that they are around, and if only we'd lose the fear. You can always try yourself. You can always try to get some communications yourself. You don't need all this expensive ghost hunting equipment. Your cell phone is enough. Now, all it needs for you is to set the intention to ask someone you love or anyone in spirit or even a spirit guide to leave you a message on your phone. You see, a lot of the time they don't do this because it freaks us out. So you have to let them know it won't freak you out and you'd be delighted. Now, if you want to try this at home, then I suggest using the video recorder on your phone. It's the best way to record or to hear voices. So ideally, you'll be recording other people so that there's some background noise, maybe at a party or with friends or something like that, because the spirit needs a little bit of energy to manifest the voice for you. And you may need to go back in your footage and use a headset in order to hear your message. Now, if you're working with a video and not the voice box, I have noticed that the voice tends to come out more like a whisper. So here's just a reminder. We can hear the spirit whispering me to hurry. This is another piece I caught as well. I was recording a beautiful pine cone. I was saying nothing, I was just recording it with the intention of perhaps using it for a meditation later. Now you can hear that my colleagues were talking in the background. And if you listen carefully, you can hear a spirit whispering, "Yes, Anna." Now, Anna was one of the girls talking in the background, and it was the spirit's way of saying, yes, you're right, Anna. One little piece of advice: if your phone accidentally records something like it did when I was rushing back to my bedroom, pay particular attention to that video, because you may very well have caught a spirit on there. That's maybe that they made that accident happen for a reason. So I do hope you enjoyed learning all about this. If you did, let me know in the comments below, or maybe you might even want to share your own stories.